And after these matters and this truth, Sennacherim king of the Assyrians came. And he came against Judah, and encamped against the walled cities, and said that he would take possession of them. And Hezekiah saw that Sennacherim had come, and that his face was set to wage war on Jerusalem. And he took counsel with his elders and the magnates to seal off the waters of the springs that were outside the city, and they supported him. And he gathered a large group of people, and sealed off the waters of the springs, and the stream that separated the city, saying, May the king of Assur not come and find much water and be revived. And Hezekiah strengthened and built the entire wall that had been demolished, and towers and another external wall. And he strengthened the retaining structure of the city of David, and fashioned many weapons. And he set war commanders over the people, and they gathered to him in the square of the ravine gate. And he spoke to their hearts, saying, Be strong and be manly. Do not be terrified from before the king of Assur, and from before all the nation with him, because with us are more than with him. With him are physical arms, but with us is the Lord, our God, to save us and to fight our war for us. And the people took heart at the words of Hezekiah king of Judah. And after this Sennacherim king of the Assyrians sent his servants to Jerusalem, and he himself was at Lachish, and all his army with him. And he sent to Hezekiah king of Judah, and to all Judah and Jerusalem, saying, Thus says Sennacherim king of the Assyrians, In what have you put your trust, that you sit in the siege in Jerusalem? Is not Hezekiah deceiving you, to hand you over to death, and to famine and to thirst, saying, The Lord our God will save us from the hand of the king of Assur? Was it not this Hezekiah who removed his altars, and his high places, and said to Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, Opposite this altar you shall do obeisance, and upon it you shall offer incense? Shall you not know what I have done, I and my fathers, to all the peoples of the countries? Being able were the gods of the nations of all the earth, able to save their people from my hand. Who was there among the gods of those nations, whom my fathers utterly destroyed? Were they able to save their people from my hand, that your God should be able to save you from my hand? Now let Hezekiah not deceive you, let him not make you trust like this, and do not believe him, because no God of any nation or kingdom shall be able to save his people from my hand, and from the hand of my fathers, because your God will not save you from my hand. And his servant spoke still more against the Lord God, and against Hezekiah his servant. And he wrote a note to reproach the Lord God of Israel, and spoke about him, saying, As the gods of the nations of the earth did not deliver their peoples from my hand, so Hezekiah's God will not deliver his people from my hand. And he shouted with a loud voice in Judean to the people of Jerusalem, who were on the wall, to frighten them and draw them down in order that they might seize the city. And he talked about Jerusalem's God, as he did about the gods of the peoples of the earth, works of human hands. And King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah son of Amos prayed about this and shouted out to the sky. And the Lord sent an angel, and he destroyed every powerful warrior, and commander and general in the camp of Assur's king. And he returned to his country shamefaced. And he came into the house of his God, and some of those fathered from his belly struck him down with a sword. And the Lord saved Hezekiah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem from the hand of Sennacherim king of Assur, and from the hand of all. And he gave them rest on every side. And many brought gifts to the Lord in Jerusalem, and presents to Hezekiah king of Judah. And he was exalted in the eyes of all the nations after that. In those days Hezekiah became sick unto death, and he prayed to the Lord, and he heard him and gave him a sign. And Hezekiah did not repay according to the reward which he had given him. Rather his heart was exalted. And anger came upon him and upon Judah and Jerusalem. And Hezekiah was brought low from the exaltation of his heart. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the Lord's anger did not come upon them in the days of Hezekiah. And wealth and very great honor accrued to Hezekiah. And he made himself treasuries for silver and gold, and precious stone and for spices, and armories also for desirable articles, and cities for the produce of grain, and oil and wine, and mangers for every herd, and folds for the flocks, and cities which he built for himself, and goods for sheep and cows in profusion, because the Lord gave him very abundant goods. This same Hezekiah closed above the outlet of the water of Gihon, and directed them down to the southwest of the city of David. And Hezekiah prospered in all his works, and likewise with regard to the envoys of the commanders of Babylon, who had been sent to him to inquire from him the marvel that had happened on the land, and the Lord abandoned him to test him, to know what was in his heart. And the rest of the histories of Hezekiah, and his mercy, behold, they are written in the prophecy of Isaiah son of Amos, the prophet, and in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. And Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and they buried him on the ascent of the tombs of David's sons. And all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem gave him fame and honor in his death. And Manasseh his son became king in his stead. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And he did what was evil before the Lord, arising from all the abominations of the nations whom the Lord had utterly destroyed from before the sons of Israel. And he turned and built the high places that his father Hezekiah had pulled down, and erected steles to the She-Baalim, and made groves, and did obeisance to all the host of the sky, and was subject to them. And he built altars in the Lord's house, of which the Lord had said, In Jerusalem shall my name be forever. And he built altars to all the host of the sky in the 2 courts of the Lord's house. He too passed his children through fire in Gai-Banai Enam. And he acted as a diviner, and practiced ornithomancy, and sorcery, and acted as ventriloquists and enchanters. He multiplied doing evil before the Lord, in order to provoke him. And he installed what was carved and what was smelted, an image that he had made, in the Lord's house of which God had said to David and to Solomon his son, In this house in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever. And I will not add to shake Israel's foot from the land that I gave to their fathers, if only they are careful to do all that I have commanded them, according to all the law, and the ordinances and the judgments by Moses' hand. And Manasseh led astray Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, to do what was evil beyond all the nations, whom the Lord had removed from before the sons of Israel. And the Lord spoke to Manasseh and to his people, but they gave no heed. And the Lord led against them the commanders of the force of the king of Assur. And they took Manasseh in manacles, and bound him with fetters, and brought him to Babylon. And when he was in distress, he sought the face of the Lord his God, and he was humbled exceedingly from before the God of his fathers. And he prayed to him, and he heard him. And he heard his cry, and brought him back to Jerusalem to his kingdom. And Manasseh knew that the Lord, he is God. And afterward he built a wall outside the city of David, from the southwest by Gihon in the Wadi, and when people exit the round about gate, even unto Ophla, and he heightened it significantly. And he appointed commanders of the force in all the walled cities in Judah. And he removed the foreign gods, and the carved item from the Lord's house, and all the altars that he had built on the mountain of the Lord's house, and in Jerusalem, and outside the city. And he restored the Lord's altar, and sacrificed on it a sacrifice of deliverance and of praise. And he said that Judah should be subject to the Lord God of Israel. The people, however, were still on the high places. The Lord, however, was their God. And the rest of the histories of Manasseh, and his prayer to God, and the words of the seers when they spoke to him in the name of the Lord God of Israel, behold, they are in the accounts of his prayer, and how he listened to him, and all his sins and his acts of apostasy, and the places on which he built the high places, and set up there groves and carved items before he repented. Behold, they are written in the accounts of the seers. And Manasseh slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the orchard of his house. And his son Amon became king in his stead. Amon became king at 22 years old, and reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. And he did what was evil before the Lord, as Manasseh his father had done. And Amon would sacrifice to all the idols his father Manasseh had made, and he was subject to them. And he was not humbled before the Lord, as his father Manasseh had been humbled, because his son Amon increased error. And his servants plotted against him, and struck him in his house. And the people of the land struck those who had plotted against King Amon. And the people of the land made Josias his son king in his stead.